Hey guys, welcome back to Thai Kicks for this very impromptu live video. And really, I wanted to kind of show you something that I'd been contemplating doing for a little while. I managed to get myself a pair of these, which is the Nike Overbreak in the Fossil colorway. And I really liked how this looked. Now, it was a very difficult one to try and get your hands on if you did try, purely for the fact that it has this Mars yard vibe about them, particularly the fact that there is obviously a new Mars yard in testing right now, and it's got that similar kind of black sort of toe end to it, and it's got loads of features that you would kind of sort of say at a distance makes it look a little bit Mars yardy. But there's one thing when I got them in hand that was a glaring obvious thing that didn't really hit the spot. Now, for some people, they're not mad into customization. I am not a big customizer by any shape or form, and I don't own a Mars yard either. So this was kind of like the best alternative for me to get my hands on. But when it arrived, as you can see, the swoosh on the heel, it's a bit orange. It's not as red as I would like it to be. So a little while ago, I bought some sneaker paint that was specifically for leather, and I thought, let's do it, because otherwise it's just going to annoy me because it's not what I want. And you know, maybe one day they will bring out one that's a little bit like that. Maybe they won't, purely for the fact that it's so close to a Mars yard in some respects. The likelihood is that if they brought these out with red swooshes, it would be a bit strange for that whole particular collaboration with Tom Sachs. So I've taken it upon myself to decide how I'm going to do this. So I've decided that I'm going to paint the swooshes, paint the back. I'm not too concerned about the fact that the Nike branding won't show up, because on normal Mars yards, this area here isn't there. It's not really an issue. And I am going to potentially add at the back here some pull tabs. So this is what I've got. We've got some of this, which is by the Footwear Care Company. It's some acrylic leather paint. This one is the Chilli Red. So potentially could be a little bit dark, but I'm hoping that with a thin layer, it doesn't look too bad, and we'll see how that goes. Also managed to pick up these, which are, they're like red nylon straps, and they've got a very similar pattern. If we sort of show you a little bit close, a very similar pattern of stitch to some of the loops that you see on the back of Mars yards. Now, I'm not going to go all out and add this to the tongue. I've sort of decided that at the end of the day, this is an overbreak, and it is more inspired by Mars yard than trying to turn it into a Mars yard. So I'll only be kind of adding this on the back around the heel counter. Maybe not in this particular video. We're going to just paint these swooshes up and see how they look. So with that being said, let's have a look at what it's going to look like once we paint it up. So just quickly, this is something that I've made already. These are the two loops that will go onto the backs of these shoes. As you can see here, they all attach there at the back in some way, shape or form. And I will do another video on these when they are completed in full. I need to work out how to attach these to the back, but I think it'll look quite cool as long as these swooshes are not orange. So this one is unpainted. So let's start on this one. I'm by no means an expert when it comes to doing this kind of thing at all. So we are going to just go with it and see how we go. Now, I have done the other shoe already. I'm not going to show you that just yet. I did initially use some kind of tape to hold some of these areas down where it kind of flaps. But really, I was being quite careful when I painted it, and I didn't really feel the need to do it on this shoe. I think I can do it without it. Now, I may eat my words at the end of this, but let's get stuck in and let's do it. So if you want to stay with me, I really appreciate it. If not, then you are more than welcome to skip through and scrub a little bit further to the end, where I will put both these pairs together with their new look. So I'm going to get stuck in. So I've got a little flat brush. This is really good for painting this and being really careful on the edges with that sort of flat edge. It really does help. And I'm only going to be using, really, if I'm honest, I only really sort of used a bit of the paint that was in the lid of this. It's quite a big pot, really, not that expensive. I'll leave the link in the description below to the company that I bought this from. Now, because this has got like a bit of a flap in terms of that sort of tan material, you don't really need to paint all the way to the edge. It's not essential because it will get covered up. Now, if you really want to, and I have, you can. There's no right or wrongs to this. I'm by no means some sort of customization pro, but I don't want to get anything on any of the mesh area, any of the mesh panels that are on this. So just being really careful and cautious with it. You sort of see as we're putting it on at the moment. Unfortunately, I don't have a top-down camera for this, so I do apologize. But I will regularly show you its progress as we go along. A lot of people have been interested in how to go about making these look a little bit more Mars Yard inspired. For me, I watched a couple of people's videos on what they did, and I've watched a few people's videos on what I didn't really like and what people did as well. So yeah, it's just all about personal choice with customization by the looks of it. I think the only other customization I ever did was a pair of Ultra Boost, actually. It was an Ultra Boost 3.0. I think it was the Oreo colorway. And I actually wrapped the cage and the heel counter because I just wanted to have something a little bit different, and I wanted it to sort of match it to an early design that I spotted, actually, which had the heel counter look a little bit more almost like a marble effect, and it looked really cool. I really liked it, but when it came down to the retail pairs, Adidas decided it wasn't for them, so they didn't do that. They just left the heel counter. I think it was black, actually. So actually it gave a little bit of protection to the heel counter, which was quite cool. It was just it was just vinyl that I'd bought from a hardware store that usually probably would wrap countertops or something. So it gave it a little bit of a protection vibe for a while. Didn't last forever, and I did wear them quite a lot. So yeah, it was cool. But so far, it's all coming on quite nicely. Now, the only downside to this paint, actually, surprisingly enough, is it dries really quickly. So you've got to just get stuck in there. You can't pussyfoot around with this. You've got to just keep painting. Otherwise, you just end up getting it look quite patchy. Now, maybe that's the case that if you do more than one coat, which I did do with the other pair, it helps, but still, nevertheless, red drying on top of red will eventually make certain bits look a bit darker than others if you're not quick. Now, I said take your time. I still mean that. But I think you've got to just be really mindful of the fact that if you get it on any other part of this shoe, it's kind of game over. There's no way to get it off. It's red at the end of the day, and everything else on the shoe is really lightly coloured. So you've basically ruined a pair of expensive shoes. So take your time. Don't rush. Purely because of the fact it's not worth it. Cool. So there, a bit more red, still a little bit wet. Just got to be really mindful The thing is, if you get a little bit on the inside of the flaps that are, it's just loose material that they've cut, and it's kind of a stylized thing for the overbreaks. You're not going to see it because it's going to be that way. If you get a little bit on that when it flicks up, I've got a tiny bit on it. It's nothing major. And it's not a big job. It's actually a really easy job. And I kind of don't think that it's going to take up a lot of your time. Hence why this video hopefully won't be hours and hours and hours. Now I've run out a little bit of paint. I'm just going to shake it a little bit and get some more on. Obviously, if you have a surface you want to protect, you might want to put something down. I'm not going to cry. Get it on this table. Let's try and paint the back. So again, this is quite a difficult area to paint because there's a lot of light material to paint up to. So it's actually really handy to have one of these flat brushes. They're quite flat, and they're going to be easy to get into those little edges and gaps. You see, taking your time is key to this. It really is. Just be mindful of the paint drying, but I'm not too bothered about painting over the night branding because it's going to be covered by that that tab that I'm going to attach to it. That's why I'm not that bothered. I've seen some videos where people have done this and then they haven't obviously added any kind of pull tab, so they've had to reapply or repaint a Nike logo onto the back of the shoe, which I don't want to do. That's far too much work for me to do. I'm not going to do that. Thing is, once you do another coat of this, it will look painted. So you could potentially, with the right type of pen, I wouldn't say a Sharpie because they go a little bit blue. But if you've got the right black, you could go over it in a pen maybe. But I wouldn't want to paint it. I'm not that delicate and skilled at this type of stuff to paint it. Oh, now I'm in trouble here. Trying to roll the material down that's just on the back of the heel. And this is a little bit trickier than along the sides. But we've done it, which is all good. I feel like Bob Ross. If you don't know who Bob Ross is, Google it. Look at it this way. He's a much better painter than me. Now, if anybody's got any questions about this, please drop me a message. Please write in the comment section down below. Please, with pleasure, you can DM me on Instagram at ty_kix. I will gladly do my best to respond to anyone who has any questions about what I've done, or whether you want to critique what I've done and say that I've done a really shocking job. I don't expect that everyone is going to say that what I've done is good. But then again, sometimes if you don't try, you don't know. So let's have a little show you. So that's the back. So compare to the side, you see how orange it is there, and then you show the back, and then the other side is practically dry already. Straight away, it's totally changed the look of the shoe from that orange. Now, you think online pictures and seeing this beforehand, you go, oh, it looks so Mars Yard inspired, but actually it's still very orange when you get it in hand. And some people will love it, but I really think that this red is going to look better. Oh, see if we can get that to focus a bit better. You can see it looks a little bit patchy, but it kind of will disappear when you do a second coat. First coats always are a little bit thin. So I'm going to keep going, doing the inside. Oh, itchy eyes. So I don't know if anybody knows, I did enter to be a Nike Craft wear tester with Tom Sachs to try the what it is probably the 2.5 version of the Mars Yard. I entered for the phase 1 testing and sadly didn't make the cut, which is a shame. I'm always quite keen to get involved in things that are, interesting and, really kind of sort of test you a little bit. And unfortunately, it wasn't for me. Now, unfortunately, I also don't always have the time unless I have to. Like, I can dedicate time if I'm involved in something and I can explain it. But if I'm not, and I'm just doing it in my spare time, it's difficult. So there are a lot of people that followed the first phase of testing on their own, like chosen to follow all of the testing that was taking place. Sadly, I wasn't able to do all of it. I think I did a couple of challenges, but some of the walking challenges were quite cool, especially because we were in the lockdown, but couldn't do some of the other ones with work. And I think it looks like that the second phase is about to begin in May. What am I talking about? In May. And they have chosen quite a few people who did it off their own backs, which is great. They spent a lot of time in their own time and dedicated. Obviously a pair they paid for themselves as opposed to something they've been given, and beat them to death and really road tested whatever pair they felt would do a good job on that trial and documented it. And some of those people have been chosen to do the phase 2, which is amazing. Some people have been asked to basically participate via themselves. Like people basically volunteered themselves to do it at home and not be part of the main program. I think now Tom and the studio are actually inviting people to do it at home and be involved, but without the shoes, which is pretty cool. I suppose it just brings you into the frame a little bit more. You feel a bit more included as opposed to sort of sitting on the outside. But you're not required to own, or be given a certain shoe that obviously they want to test. If anything, it's about the person and about their, character, willpower, ability to follow the code, all these things that are quite big for the Tom Sachs fans out there. So we're 20 minutes in. I said it wasn't going to take a million years to do this, and first coat is on all around. So it's the inside of the shoe. Still, it's a tad patchy, but it will be better once we've done another coat. It's red now as opposed to orange, and I'll show you the other pair that I've done already. and it doesn't look anywhere near as bad in terms of the patchiness. Once you do another coat, it looks a lot cleaner. And unfortunately, I did a little test with these tags, tried to attach it to the back in one way or another. So as you can see now, with that on, that's kind of how the end result will look with that attached to the back. Sadly, I ripped some of the paint off the back, so I've got to retouch that up. But overall, I kind of like it. I think it's done what I wanted it to do, and I'll be happy to rock these around now, even if they don't have the tabs on the back yet. It is definitely for anyone who doesn't own a Mars yard and wish they did, and the prices retail are just ridiculous, something that actually can be quite achievable. And if someone comes at you, that, you know, if they know what they're looking at, they'll go, those are not a Mars yard, which I will always say, no, these are an Overbreak inspired by a Mars yard as a custom. But other than that, that is it. No more to do for this particular live stream. Thank you for anyone who stayed to watch. Really appreciate it. And thank you who came in and watched it after the fact. This was a total impromptu video. Just wanted to show you the progress of this particular little personal project that I was doing. And yeah, what I will do is probably do a video just showing the custom end result, or do a vlog kind of video very soon. I've got some more reviews coming up, so please stay tuned for that. I've got a pair of F&F Adidas to show off as well, which is pretty amazing. Only 300 pairs ever made and will ever be made. And I was really lucky enough to be gifted them, so have to be massively grateful for it. I cannot wait to show you a little bit more. Don't forget to go over to my Instagram account, which is at ty_kix, ty_kicks, to see some of the videos and some of the photos and some of the Instagram story videos that I post. You'll see those friends and family pairs as well on there, done some photos, and I'll be taking some photos of these really soon. And with that, I really hope you enjoyed this little customized live stream, and I will see you guys for a new Ty Kicks video really soon.